Right, thanks everyone for joining. So my talk's going to be about Microsoft Agent Framework and Sitecore. So quickly a bit about myself. My name's Peter Clisby. As you can see from my t-shirt, I work for Remarkable. Some other information about me. In the interest of time, I'm going to say less about me. So today's agenda, you can see I'm going to talk about Microsoft Agent Framework, some basic stuff around understanding what the framework provides, building some basic agents and the NuGet packages that support that, talk about some agent orchestration patterns and how the workflow concepts in the agent framework facilitate that, looking at executors, edges, and workflows. That'll make more sense, hopefully, subsequently. Some protocols, as well as MCP, looking at A to A, agent to agent, and then some use cases for Microsoft Agent Framework with Sitecore. Okay, so first up, Microsoft Agent Framework. It provides two SDKs, one .NET, one Python, and .NET being in C#. And then it's also got lots of customer momentum. You can see on YouTube some videos from Fujitsu, where they've done lots of stuff with the framework. And then Sitecore themselves are an early adopter. I can only imagine that maybe Agentic Studio might be driven by Agent Framework. I don't know that for sure, but hopefully you'll see in the course of the talk how the framework would facilitate building a product or feature like that. Okay, so I follow a content creator called Nate Herc, and he was explaining how you could configure Claude Code to use other models or consume via OpenRouter or even a self-hosted model, and it's not contravening the terms of usage. But the analogy he was giving is that in that case, Claude Code was essentially the car and the models were the engine. So I would kind of describe Microsoft Agent Framework as being the car, but perhaps more of an automatic car where Claude could be described as a manual car. So evolution of Microsoft Agent Framework, it comes from two other frameworks, Semantic Kernel and AutoGen. Semantic Kernel enabled building agents in C#, but kind of building isolated agents, and you'd need to figure out how to chain them together. AutoGen brought this concept of workflows and then also the graphical interface that you see on the right-hand side of how those workflows chain together. So let's move on to looking at how you would build a basic agent and the NuGet packages that help you do that. So you can see here I've got my AI agent read-only field, and then a private constant being my my prompt. And you can see it's a Content Hub management assistant, giving it information around DAM and things it can do with DAM, create and search and update metadata, what it can do with CMP, again, kind of CRUD operations, generally what you can do in the platform, and the same for PCM. And then you can see here some of the namespaces where you've got this AI agent private read-only field that we saw previously, and this as AI agent on the chat client, how you're going to populate those. And on the right-hand side, you can see the iChat client interface and how that is also populated with an extension method for as iChat client. And to just give a bit of information around that, the iChat client is the base interface for inference services, and the AI agent is the base abstract class for all AI agents, with those two extension methods too. So you might have seen references, you probably didn't notice, but you might have seen references to OpenAI, and there's NuGet packages to help you interact with OpenAI. There's also ones for Anthropic and for Google, Gemini, and also lots of other providers. So, you know, there's lots of utility packages that you can use to interact with different models. So to move on and look at agent orchestration patterns and how the workflows enable that, you can see here a bit of a wordy slide around what the framework supports. So you've got your sequential orchestration, which is step-by-step workflows. You've got concurrent orchestration, which is where the agents essentially go off and work in parallel. Group chat orchestration, where the agents will brainstorm together and talk with each other. Handoff orchestration, where the responsibility, as it says, will move between agents as the context develops. And then finally, magentic orchestration, which is where you have a manager agent that will create a ledger of tasks that the other agents and also humans can interact with. So a really simple example of, I mean, these are essentially dummy agents that I'm creating here. So I've got a content hub agent, a CMS developer agent, and a content editor agent. And you can see down the bottom here how I'm essentially building the workflow. You've got this agent workflow builder, build sequential. And I guess my point is how the framework is at abstracting what could be complex concepts by just giving you kind of utility methods to do that. So you can see the same example if you wanted those to run concurrently. All you're doing is changing the method to be build concurrent on the agent workflow builder. So as a C# developer, it's really easy to use and those concepts are abstracted away. So that's all fine if the whole workflow is agents passing off to another agent. But as I say, with executors, edges, and workflows, there can be cases where you want some of the steps to be deterministic and others to be agents. So as you can see highlighted, they can be AI agents or custom logic components, but they could also be other services. So you can see in the bottom right hand a executor there that is essentially just inverting the text. So if you've got a really simple function, you don't necessarily need to burn tokens to just invert the text. You can just have a C# function and then hand that off to an agent. And equally, you might not want to use an agent for everything. So OCR being a good example, but there's lots of legacy AI services that can achieve that. You don't necessarily need to pass off to an LLM to identify if there's text in an image. Then you've got edges. Edges are effectively defining the connections between the executors and the order that they will run in. And then your workflows are kind of bringing all of those three concepts together, and then also giving you a graphical UI to show how they're interacting with each other. So as I say, this pattern is particularly useful when you want to run deterministic functions, when you also want to have in tandem AI-powered decision-making agents. And then you can have the two examples I'm giving are the sequential and the concurrent or the parallel processing in the workflows. And you can see here an example where you've got an AI agent being created for a jailbreak detector. So it's essentially looking for if there's a prompt injection or something nefarious in the prompt. And then you can see here it's defining the output very clearly about like jailbreak detected or safe, and then giving that to the next step. So again, that could be another agent. So you can see here the response agent, and it's saying essentially if the message indicates jailbreak detected, then you're going to respond saying, I cannot process your command, your prompt. And then you can see here the kind of edge concept. And again, it's like a really simple way in abstracting that what could be very complex otherwise. All you're doing with your edges is taking the executors, as you can see here, the jailbreak detector passing off to a deterministic function to just process that output, and then passing to the response agent we saw previously. So really simple concept. Okay, so moving on then to different protocols. I'm not going to talk too much about MCP, assuming that most people are aware of MCP. Slightly lesser known is A2A or agent to agent, which, as you can see here, A2A is meant to be complementary to MCP, not kind of overlapping. And where MCP is agents to tools, A2A obviously is agents to agents, and they will give an output that will be picked up by the next agent. And so you can see, and again, the kind of repeated theme of like how they're continually like abstracting these concepts away and making them very easy for you as a developer, I've got a Sitecore agent builder here, two different ones, Content Hub and Sitecore. And you can see here with a simple function of map A to A with some parameters, I've essentially implemented that concept without needing to know too much about it. Okay, so then to look at some use cases in the last 5 minutes, you can see one really good use case. Lots of companies will be restricted that they're allowed to use Copilot, but perhaps not allowed to use other things. So you could be building your Microsoft Agent Framework agents and workflows, and then registering those as in Copilot Studio. And then as kind of example repo that Microsoft Agent Framework has, you can see here a strategy agent that is calling off a web search tool of Tavily, which is a service for searching web in real time. Then that's passing off to a planner agent, passing off to a researcher agent, and analysis there. They're the researcher calling Tavily as well. That's then passing off to your copywriting agent. That is again calling Tavily via this web search MCP tool. Then passing off to the image agent, which is calling Flux for calling this generate image MCP tool in Flux. And then passing off to the unfortunate Sora to generate videos. And I'm not a big user of Sora. I understand that it's kind of been sort of removed from the market. And I think there's a lesson for us all there that if you're kind of depending on these loss-making technologies, you might wake up one day and they're discontinued. So just to recap, if you remember at the beginning of the talk, I showed my prompt for the Content Hub agent. I've got another one for Sitecore, and it's got two MCP tools, the Sitecore MCP community tools and the Marketer MCP, as well as some instructions around that. And then just to cover off what's available in each, the Marketer MCP, hopefully people are quite familiar with by now, but it's got some great tooling for like site management, page management, content management, asset management, personalization, and other things. And then as well as that, Anton Tishenko from EXTST has got a community MCP server for Sitecore, which as you can see there, it's got tools like item service, get item by ID, lots of Sitecore PowerShell tools. And essentially, if you think about that, that can work with XP. I believe Master MCP is Sitecore AI only. I might be wrong with that. But yeah, so essentially you've got more developer type of tooling there, where the Marketer MCP perhaps is more marketer focused as well. Okay, so when I've sort of said to Claude to make some ideas around what you could use Microsoft Agent Framework for with kind of cross-platform with Content Hub and Sitecore AI. And you can see here it's come up with like a content lifecycle where it's going to create the CMP content, search the DAM, create the page, fill in the fields, and then ready or not, publish it. And a similar thing with campaigns, and a similar thing with building products from PCM in Content Hub. And I kind of wonder, could that be a replacement for a connector? But I think that needs more investigation than asking Claude. So when I've asked Claude to go and implement all of those ideas, you can see I've asked it to build a MVC application with a UI that people can either select what they want to do or give inputs. And based on that, it's got a switch that it's going to run these different prompts. So it's got like DAM search, DAM create, CMP search, CMP create. And then you could ultimately do anything you can dream up. I mean, if you think about some of the talks that have been at the event around kind of building code with Figma, you've got Figma MCP tools here. So you could essentially be building these workflows to be getting designs from Figma, building the code, subsequent agent committing the code. On the right-hand side, you see the GitHub MCP. But yeah, as I say, anything you can dream up. So with 30 seconds left, just to say thank you to the sponsors. I'm pretty sure that's good karma to be sponsoring SUGCON, so thanks very much for that. And then I'm not sure we've got time for questions, so I'm told not, so come and see me at the end. if you've got any questions. So thank you very much.